What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Gearhead Nation. Today we're going to get started tearing down our Chevy Colorado. Sick week is coming up in, I believe, June. So we've got a month or so to get the LS swap done and get this thing ready for its first drag and drive. So let's get at it. Alright, so I got the truck up on jack stands in the back. I've got it set on blocks in the front. Go ahead and start with removing the drive shaft. We got 4 11mm bolts, and then we got on this cross member 2 16mm bolts, and the drive shaft will come out. So I'll go ahead and get that done real quick. Alright guys, I got the drive shaft removed. Pretty easy, but this carrier bearing is toast, so looks like I'm going to be replacing that while I'm at it. So let's go ahead and move on to the transmission. So we're in the truck. We're going to go ahead and break down the shifter and get that all removed. So we'll start with cut the knob off. This isn't even screwed down or bolted down or anything. That's kind of cool. Remove this white ring. Then we'll lift up on the tray. Get that out of the way. Then you've got 4 7mm screws. 1, 2, 3, 4 at each of the corners. I already got those out. Then you're able to lift up, and you got 4 10mm bolts, and the shifter will come on out of there. And with the shifter removed, we can bask in all the glory that is our light switch, heater switch. And now we'll get under the truck and start unbolting the transmission. Alright guys, so we're under the truck now. We're gonna get ready to drop this transmission. So first we need to disconnect this clutch line. There's a black clip that helps hold it in, but then you got this quick disconnect that we need to pull back, and then the line will come right off. Alright, now that the clutch line's removed, we've got to disconnect the wiring for the reverse light and the wiring for the speed sensor, which the wiring for the reverse light was on that plug, and then the speed sensor is on the other side. And with those off, we can get to the fuel line. Bolts on with a bracket to the back of the transmission. We got to remove that, 2 13mm, and we also got to remove these 2 13mm that hold this bracket for the wiring. So I'll go ahead and do that next. Alright, so I got the fuel line disconnected from the bracket on the transmission, and I got the bracket unnutted from the bell housing. Now we've got 2 15mm bolts in the center of the transmission. Then we got a 15mm bolt that goes through the cross member on both sides, and 2 18mm going up through the bottom of the frame on both sides. So I'll go ahead and get a jack underneath the transmission, and we'll get those removed. So the cross member's out, transmission just chilling, hanging out. I've got most of the bell housing bolts out. There's 11 total. The 2 up top are the only 2 I have left. I'll get those out real quick and we'll pull this transmission out of here. Alright guys, and the transmission is out. So we got 11 15mm bolts total. These top 2 are kind of a pain to get to, kind of not. What I did was I actually went through the hole for the shifter up top and was able to get on them and get them broken loose and get them out pretty easily. So once you have the shifter out, you got plenty of room to get in there and get some work done. So that by far is the easiest way to get to the top 2 bolts. It took me about 2 minutes to get both bolts out, so it wasn't bad at all. Alright guys, now that I'm a mess, I'm going to go ahead and end the video off there. Got the hardest part done. Transmission's out. So tomorrow I will go ahead and continue, and we'll start unhooking everything else that needs to be unhooked from the bottom, the exhaust, wiring harness, everything that needs to go, and then we'll come up top and start chipping away at that. So I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys thought I was leaving the video off there, huh? Psych. I went ahead and got back underneath the truck and unhooked the exhaust. Those 3 15mm studs. I ended up snapping one. No big deal. We don't need that where we're going. So let's get up top and start undressing the engine. So the next thing I'm going to do, I went ahead and got the air box out. I'm going to go ahead and remove this tank. And we're going to, I believe it's the middle plug. We'll start unhooking the wiring and get all the wiring draped on that side. That way in a later video I can go through and depend what I don't need from it. And we'll go ahead and get the stuff from the intake removed and get to all the wiring. I've got the reservoir removed. It was a 1/2-inch bolt down on the fender well and 2 10mm bolts on each side. Went ahead and disconnected the wiring harness from the ECM. Then I went through and O2 sensors and injector wiring. All the wiring for the AC and power steering is removed. All the wiring from the front of the engine is removed. All the wiring on the back of the engine is removed. Now I need to get underneath and remove the wiring from the starter. The starter still went. I didn't even have to take it out to get the transmission out. So I'll crawl underneath right now. There's 3 or 4 ground wires on the wiring harness, bolted to the oil pan, I believe, or to the side of the, on the side of the block actually, I believe. So I'll crawl under and finish disconnecting the wiring harness, and we'll get it draped over on the side. Alright, I've got most of the wiring removed from the bottom of the engine as well. Everything except for the starter wires. I'm gonna disconnect those once I get the engine lifted and I can get to them better. But I went ahead and disconnected the AC line, and I didn't bleed it like I should have, and made a hell of a mess, but that's alright. Unbolted the 1/2-inch bolt that holds the radiator in. You got a 1/2-inch bolt for this part of the AC line that bolts to the radiator. And the radiator's ready to come out, complete with all the AC stuff. And now we got a clear shot to the power steering pump. We got 3 1/2-inch bolts holding it in the front. So I'll go ahead and take those off, and I don't think there's any in the side unless there's some hiding. I'll find out. Yep, there's 3 1/2-inch bolts to take the power steering pump off. So now, I think the only thing I have left to disconnect are, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that dipstick because it's in the way of some wiring. And then I've got 2 bolts that hold the fuel lines to the intake. So I'll go ahead and remove those and undo the motor mounts, and this thing should be ready to pull. Alright, I've got both the 18mm bolts out for the motor mounts. Now I went ahead and disconnected the fuel line and pulled it out completely, that way it doesn't get damaged. This part right here is, I guess, is pretty crucial to the fuel pump, so I don't know how I'm going to modify these lines yet. We'll figure that out though when we get there. But I wanted to pull them out to get them out of the way so that they don't get damaged. So I guess it's time to lift this thing up so I can get to the rest of the wiring and get it plugged up out of there. And just like that, the engine's out of there. I welded up a hitch mount for my old engine hoist, so now I have a hitch mounted hoist, so that's pretty cool. But I lifted the engine up just enough to get to the starter wire easier. It wasn't too bad to get off, and I had a couple other wires that I missed I had to get off. But other than that, there she is. Check this out, you guys. Sending piston right through the block. Well, that's that for that. I guess I'll be stripping that engine down, selling what I can, and scrapping the block. And there it is, guys. Our fresh, clean slate. Clean. Huh. All ready to get cleaned up and prepare for the LS swap. In the next video, we'll go ahead and I don't have a way to get a power washer to it because I'm far from a water source here, but we'll do our best to clean it up the best we can for now. Then once the swap's done, I'll take it and power wash it, get everything cleaned up. But other than that, on the next video, we'll start to do the prep work and get the new engine installed. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.